Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I thank you for being here. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about bias and liquidity and essentially when to switch your bias when your plan isn't following how you'd expect and when it's time to just change it. Change your bias, change the direction, understanding what you're looking for and when you need to stop looking for that certain bias. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about that, about the price action, what I wanted to see happen, what actually happened, and then what we did to move forward from that. So we're just going to jump into the charts. It's going to be a good one. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to ask you guys for some help, some advice on essentially my funded account challenge. So with that being said, let's jump right down to the charts and get this party started. All right, so we're going to start on the daily time frame. Now, yesterday I talked a little bit about that chart, the continuous contract, and essentially what I did was I just put those levels onto my E-mini S&P contract. So those levels are 5029.25, it's the all-time high. We had daily relative equal highs, and we had a daily fair value gap, and then we had a weekly high. So these are levels that if we do continue to push higher, I would like to see traded to. Just kind of give us a guideline on what to expect, only because we don't really have much information. So I just decided to put these levels on my chart for a guideline. Now, let's talk about, essentially what I wanted to see happen today. Now, we have been extremely bullish, and that is awesome to see. We are reaching these new highs, new liquidity. But today I did want to see some short-term sells. I mean, we have been going higher, higher, higher. And today I wanted to see some short-term sells, potentially into this daily fair value gap, fill that in, and some relative equal lows levels, and then even the new week opening gap. Now, we didn't actually trade lower, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about more on that and essentially how and why I switched my bias to buys. So we're gonna just drop down to the 1 hour because this is really where I decided, hey, we're going to go short or we're gonna go for longs. Now, this morning we did have this nice down move here. And again, my bias was I wanted to see this 15-minute fair value gap filled in, potentially yesterday's opening range gap and these relative equal lows. So I did want to see the market continue to push lower after this run here. But the main thing was we had this 1 hour fair value gap right here, and we had these relative equal lows. Now, the market did respect this 1 hour fair value gap. We came back down into it one more time before moving higher. We then opened at 12 a.m. and we continued to push lower. And we were kind of in this range, but I saw this 1 hour fair value gap, and here was my bias at the start of the day. I saw this 1 hour fair value gap and I wanted to see it be respected as an inversion fair value gap. And I wanted to see the market continue to push lower. So I didn't want to see it close above this 1 hour fair value gap. I wanted to see it actually close below it, trade back into it, and then go lower. However, this morning, we did take out these relative equal lows right here. We traded lower, and then I wanted to see that 1 hour fair value gap again respected. I wanted to see it close below it, but we didn't. Instead, we respected it as a normal 1 hour fair value gap. So seeing this morning, I was like, okay, we're probably gonna be going for buy side now, because it didn't change into an inversion fair value gap. It basically stayed the same, and we took out these relative equal lows. So having that was my basically liquidity run, and then I wanted to see the market push higher, and we did in fact push higher, closing above this 1 hour fair value gap by a mile. and we closed in this opening range gap. So for me, seeing that, I was like, we already took out those relative equal lows. We didn't take them out by much, but we did take them out enough for it to be considered a liquidity grab. And then we closed above this 1 hour fair value gap. And if we were going to sell short, I really wanted to see the market continue to push lower and close below this 1 hour fair value gap. So when we didn't do that, seeing that, my bias shifted and we changed our bias into buys. And then I wanted to see these London session high, relative equal highs traded to, and this daily high traded to, because we had already taken out sell side liquidity. So now we're looking for that buy side liquidity to be taken. And considering we respected this 1 hour fair value gap so well, and we had that sort of displacement run push higher, closing in this opening range gap, for me, that was signs that, hey, we're gonna buy. So let's look for buys. Let's drop down to the 15-minute. Perfect. Again, we can see how well the market respected this 1 hour fair value gap, kind of trading higher. We did have this small break in market structure, but again, I wanted to see that market close below it just because my bias was sells this morning. However, we did not close below that 1 hour fair value gap. We instead closed above it. We had this displacement push, this displacement run, breaking this market structure and this market structure right here. And then once I saw that, I was like, okay, we are respecting this level. We took out this sell side liquidity, these relative equal lows, and now we're pushing higher. So seeing this morning, happening after 9:30, having that push, I was prepared to get in for a buy. Now let's drop down to the 5-minute. Again, we had that really nice push higher, breaking market structure after trading into that sell side liquidity and that higher time frame objective of the 1 hour fair value gap. We then pushed higher, and then we left all of these fair value gaps open. So we could use all of these as a breakaway gap, wanting to see the market push higher. Now, we did have news this morning at 10 a.m. and then we had yellow folder news at 10:30. So we did have some news drivers to help push the market forward. And seeing this market action, I was like, those look like buys. We're not even coming down into those 5-minute fair value gaps. We're going to drop down to the 1-minute time frame. Awesome. So on the 1-minute time frame, we can see this market respecting this PD array right here. Again, our objective is now these London session high levels and the daily high. Seeing that respecting this 1-minute fair value gap so well, we traded down into the consequent encroachment twice before ultimately pushing higher with that 10 o'clock news. As soon as this happened, this push higher, we had that displacement run, we left open this 1-minute fair value gap, and now our analysis is buys. This was in fact our entry. Seeing how we respected this PD array down here, having that displacement run pushing higher, we could leave our stop loss right below there, and then our objective was the London session highs / daily high. Yes, it only gave us a 5.75 point run, but the fact that it was such a nice push higher, and I wasn't expecting too much movement considering, hey, we've already moved so much. And if we're just gonna go for our kind of session runs, we want to see this daily high traded too. So we did in fact trade into it, and boom, our take profit was hit. We could even use this one as an entry as well, but because we had yet to hit that daily high, but that would have been a little bit more risky just because we would want at least a 5-point run. So we would want to see it trade higher past that daily high. But seeing this play out, working beautifully, having that kind of bias, hey, we wanted to sell short, but instead we chose to go long just because our bias had switched. We saw respect from that 1 hour fair value gap. We've seen that displacement run. We saw those breaks of market structure. We had already taken out sell side liquidity. We are looking for buy side liquidity. That's why this trade was awesome. Plus we entered at 10:03. So in our time frame, we couldn't enter down here just because this is before 10 o'clock. And then of course the news driver came back down 10:03, traded higher into those London session highs. Another reason I believed we were going to push higher is because we did have yellow folder news at 10:30. And you can see at exactly 10:30 we did push ultimately higher into those daily highs and a little bit past it. So yeah, I mean, now we're just kind of consolidating, but it was awesome to see, hey, you know, we did have a bias this morning of shorts, but the one thing we wanted to see was the market use that 1 hour fair value gap as an inversion fair value gap. So when that didn't happen, we changed our bias and we're looking for buy side liquidity now because the market had showed its hand. We wanted to see it move higher because it was respecting that 1 hour fair value gap so well, and we had already taken out sell side liquidity. So this video is kind of like how to switch up your bias, how we went from sell bias to buy bias, and just kind of understanding it's okay to like switch up your bias. What's not okay is like forcing trades and everything. So I wasn't going to force my way into sell this morning, especially when we did have that buy side liquidity that could have been reached. So understanding that and just knowing, hey, it's all good, we're trading, it's not going to be perfect, but just knowing when your bias could potentially be wrong and knowing when to switch it up, what not to look for essentially. So for me, knowing that that 1 hour fair value gap was not changing and it was staying as a fair value gap, not an inversion fair value gap, that's when I knew, hey, we're probably going to continue pushing higher. Plus, we have already been so bullish, so I was a little bit weary on selling short today. Just because we have been so bullish, we want to continue that trend until the market shows its hand and wants to go lower. So yeah, I hope you learned something from this video, and I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about my funded account challenge. So I think I'm gonna switch up my rules a little bit. Here's the tea. Cheers. All right, so here's the thing. I've been doing 1 contract, 1 trade, 5-point take profit, 5-point stop loss. I have been trying to do the 10-point take profit, but again, I'm still learning on how to hold my trades. Now, something I learned was I usually only take 1 to 2 trades a week. That's when my most optimal setups are. I know that I'll probably take 1 trade a week. I don't usually take more than 2 trades a week. It's usually 1 to 2 trades. I don't usually take 3, I don't usually take 4, and I don't usually take 5, especially if I'm only taking 1 trade a day in my desired time frame. So it kind of got me thinking, and I was like, maybe I should up the contract size and do 2 contracts per trade, because this way I'm still kind of risking the same overall percentage on the week, but I only take 1 to 2 trades a week, and more than likely it's only 1 trade a week. So I've been kind of thinking like maybe it's better to do it that way, because yes, the risk will be more, but the reward will be more. And I've been in this funded account challenge for almost 3 months now, and I continue to pay the $70 Canadian challenge fees every single month, and it kind of got me thinking, like, what if I decided to try using 2 contracts instead of 1 contract? What do you guys think? Definitely something I was thinking about, because I'm still gonna be risking max 1% a week, you know? So I'm like, do I want to risk 4% a month, or do I want to continue risking 2% a month? Because if I'm only taking 1 trade, it's only a 2% risk a month. So yeah, it just got me thinking, and I would love to hear your guys' input on that. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you guys pass those funded account challenges, because yeah, I've just kind of been like profitable in drawdown, you know, but it's definitely given me something to think about. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I would really love your input. And yeah, thank you. All right, I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.